Discover the incredible plea of an Apache woman. Save my tribe, and you'll be blessed with strength. The voice crackled with urgency as Lisa stood before the mirror, forcing herself to meet her own gaze. She had to believe that this fight mattered, that everything she was about to do could echo through her community, and more importantly, through generations of Apache blood coursing through her veins. The impending threat from developers, eager to strip away their sacred land for glittering high-rises, loomed larger than her unfulfilled dreams of becoming an environmental lawyer. A flicker of doubt washed over her. Was she truly capable of taking on a powerful real estate company? Sometimes that doubt twisted around her chest like a choking vine, squeezing until she almost lost breath. And yet, as her father's proud visage surfaced in her mind, she felt the burning need to honor his memory. He had fought hard for their land, only to be dismissed time and again. Could she risk what little credibility she had in the hopes of preserving their legacy? With every tick of the clock, pressure built inside her like steam in a kettle. She paced the room, each step filled with the weight of expectation. Would Clara's guidance be enough to navigate the tide of disbelief that had followed her all her life? Her heart raced at the thought of her fellow Apache tribe members waiting for her call to action. But more than fear of failure, she felt the pulling strings of ambition, urging her to break free from the cycles her family had faced for generations. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the courtroom approach drew near, an unfamiliar sense of loneliness crept in, a twisting of her resolve that left her fighting back vulnerability. How could she carry the hopes of her community when the very law firm tasked with backing them had once ridiculed her family? The echoes of their laughter haunted her even now. Unlike the polished attorneys across the aisle, her modest roots, her struggles, could be twisted into a weakness, something they'd exploit in a heartbeat. Each moment bled into the next, steeped in conflict. Here she was, on the edge of possibility, but also teetering into an abyss. Could she challenge an ingrained system that belittled her past? Could she truly uphold the spirit of her father while pursuing her dreams of advocacy? Questions clawed at the edges of her focus, threatening to unravel her composure. A family secret pulsed within her, a truth that glimmered like a mirage, promising to expose the corruption hiding within her opponents. But to summon that evidence meant risking everything. The delicate fabric connecting her to her family and their legacy, fraying with every intense heartbeat. In the days leading to the trial, she felt as if the very essence of her being had been split in two. Legal aspirations collided violently with ancestral loyalty, painting her existence in shades of torment. All around her swirled uncertainty, and with every passing moment in that pressured silence, her will to fight began to slip away. Just as the courtroom doors loomed ahead, a final revelation danced tantalizingly at the edge of her mind. Would she dare to bring it to light and shatter the confines of her own doubt? Or would fear clench its grip too tightly, pulling her back from the precipice of freedom? The day of the hearing arrived, heavy with an atmosphere that felt almost tangible, pressing against her chest. As Lisa entered the courtroom, she reminded herself to breathe, each inhalation a call to inner strength. She clutched her notepad, its edges serrated from constant revisions, notes scrawled hastily in times of panic and doubt. This was her armor, a lifeline infused with every ounce of hope she harbored. The room buzzed with an unseen energy. Attorneys, witnesses, and spectators swirled in pockets of conversation, but Lisa felt isolated. The smooth, polished faces of the opposition stared back at her, their crisp suits underscoring a world that seemed to mock her existence. They bent the air with their confidence, dismissive of the battle she was choosing to fight. But buried beneath layers of uncertainty was a glimmer of resolve, an ember refusing to extinguish. Today could be the turning point, not just for her, but for everything her father had stood for. As she took her seat, Clara, her mentor, leaned in close, her voice low and steady. "You have the knowledge. Let it guide you." The weight of those words sank in, swirling through Lisa's mind. She could lean into her education and prepare meticulously, but the true challenge lay beyond textbooks. It was in the visceral connection to her community, her father's legacy, a thread of conviction weaving through her identity. When the judge entered, the room fell silent. The brass gavel struck sharply, a punctuation mark that sent ripples of adrenaline through her veins. Lisa's heart drummed out a furious tempo, anticipation coursing through her. She felt the eyes of her tribe behind her, their hopes hanging in the air like a fragile tapestry, ready to unravel. The opposing attorney launched into his case, each point articulated with the precision of a scalpel. Synaptic connections flickered in Lisa's mind as she mentally dissected his arguments, but beneath the surface, self-doubt writhed. Was she truly prepared to stand against such formidable rhetoric? Then it was her turn. As she approached the podium, every gaze in the room seemingly trained on her, she steadied herself. "Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice wavering only slightly. She recalled the teachings of her father, every word selecting truth over rhetoric. The familiar tension gripped her stomach, yet with each statement, she let the sentiment of her community surge through her. She spoke of the land, of sacred spaces threaded with history, an unbroken line connecting generations. Her fingers tightened around the podium as she presented her evidence, her pulse racing in tandem with her heightened assertiveness. With each point made, ripples shifted across the faces of the observers. She was piercing through the facade of indifference, but just as her momentum built, an unexpected interruption came. The opposing attorney rose, presenting a counter-argument drenched in condescension. "With all due respect, Ms. James, can a person born from struggle, someone with your background, truly comprehend?" His words slid like oil across water, a slick attempt to amplify her vulnerabilities. The courtroom held its breath, while Lisa wrestled with fury and despair. Embedded inside her, she felt an awakening, a fierce, unyielding sense that this was more than just a fight. This was an examination of her worth. With a deep breath, she locked eyes with him. "I represent not only myself, but the stories of those who faced adversity head-on. Our experiences, our legacy, and our fight have strengthened us." The courtroom buzzed back to life, a collective charge zipping through every listener. An unspoken understanding danced in the air. Lisa was claiming her ground, stitching together her narrative with tenacity. But as she returned to her seat after her argument, the enormity of the moment washed over her. Had she done enough? Deep inside, a sliver of fear echoed. These were her ancestors' stories, but would her voice carry? The uncertainty felt like stones in her gut as the opposing attorney prepared his rebuttal. The moment hung precariously, and suddenly it dawned on her. Transparency wasn't merely about defending land, it was about exposing truths long buried. Just as the opposing argument surged forward, Lisa recalled something vital hidden within her narrative. The family secret, a ticket to expose corruption embedded in the development deal. The moment had come to decide. Would she risk everything to unlock that truth? Gripping the edge of her seat, she felt the center of her being align. She had to bring the hidden truths to light before it was too late. Lisa's heart raced, relying heavily on the pulse of truth pounding within her. The opposing attorney's voice faded as she reflected on the weight of the decision before her. The knowledge of her lineage, of the unspeakable injustices faced, seemed to gnaw at her consciousness, demanding recognition. Like a storm cloud gathering, the secret was there, cloaked in fear and regret. The words from her mentor echoed in her mind. "You have the knowledge, let it guide you." What if this knowledge could be the catalyst not only for her case but for her own transformation? She shifted in her seat, the grip on her notepad tightening, her nails biting into the paper, anchoring her in the moment. The opposition presented their arguments with ruthless efficiency, but each polished word felt increasingly irrelevant. Lisa was more than a combatant in this courtroom. She was a vessel of her ancestors' stories, of their battle scars and triumphs. Those stories, fragmented and whispered at family gatherings, would amplify her voice. As she deliberated her next move, she noticed Clara, her mentor, nodding at her with an encouraging spark in her eyes. That small gesture ignited something in Lisa. Perhaps it was time to draw from those personal experiences. The unspoken voices were what mattered. As the judge called for a recess, Lisa stood, tension flowing out of her limbs. Breathless, she stepped aside, seeking clarity amidst the whirlwind. She envisioned the faces of her father's friends, elders whose laughter was woven with hardship. Their stories deserved to be shouted, not just murmured. Lisa racked her brain, seeking a way to honor their legacy, while she steeled herself for the next act of the hearing. The recess felt like an eternity. Thoughts clashed. Could she risk revealing the family secret? What if it didn't matter? But what if it did? And her heart quickened with realizations. This was not merely an argument about land. It was a reckoning. With determination igniting her spirit, Lisa returned to her seat as the hearing commenced again. She unearthed the story buried deep within, a tale of betrayal by developers who trampled on land that had cradled her ancestors. This wasn't just her story. It was a collective cry for the historical injustices glossed over by modernity. When her time came, she stood, a renewed purpose radiating through her. Your Honor, I wish to address not only the land in question but the integrity tied to our existence, her voice rang out. The courtroom shifted, all eyes riveted on her. This land is sacred. Our relationship with it goes beyond economics. It is rooted in survival, and behind this fight lies a secret, a saga of corruption that still haunts us. The courtroom tensed, every breath held, a ripple of anticipation coursed through her. There was no turning back now. She would share her family's untold story. She realized with clarity that by exposing this truth, she was embodying the very evolution she had hoped to achieve, not just as an attorney, but as a person honoring her father's legacy. In the silence that followed, the weight of her revelation hung delicately, a bridge suspended above the chasm of her fears and ambitions. Armed with fresh vigor, she felt resolute. Lisa was ready to confront her shadows, to weave the threads of her past into a future brighter with hope. As she prepared her detailed accounts, the opposing attorney's gleeful confidence shifted to a cautious unease, the tide turning. Lisa inhaled deeply, ready to seize the momentum building around her. Yet, just as she was about to lay the truth bare, a new figure emerged, someone she hadn't seen before but instantly recognized as a potential game-changer. Would this unexpected arrival complicate her mission, or provide a lifeline? The door swung wide, and the next chapter of her journey loomed ominously, setting the stage for an encounter that could redefine everything. Lisa's breath caught for an instant as she recognized the newcomer, a figure from her childhood, an elderly woman with the same fierce spirit that had lit up family gatherings long ago, Grandmother May. Her presence felt both comforting and overwhelming, the embodiment of familial strength against the frailty of generations past. Lisa's heart raced anew. This was not merely a family member, but a connection to her heritage and history, a walking testament to resilience. Grandmother May approached the stand, her gaze sharp and unwavering as she fixed it upon the judge, a silent proclamation that she would not be overlooked. Lisa inhaled deeply, battling a surge of emotions, pride, gratitude, uncertainty. What was she doing here? Did she sense the gravity of this moment? The delicate balance between revelation and catastrophe that demanded careful navigation? Your Honor, May's voice rose, shifting the atmosphere in the room. I wish to speak. With a slight nod from the judge, she continued. This isn't just a case of land. It's a legacy, a lifelong covenant with the earth my ancestors set forth. Each word bore weight, an echo that reverberated through generations. Lisa felt a shiver down her spine. This wasn't merely May's truth, it was their truth. Standing beside her, Lisa absorbed the meaning behind May's invocation of history. Was it right to share this legacy, their burden, their pride? But as she watched May's steadfastness, Lisa sensed a shift. It wasn't about right or wrong anymore. It was about justice, reclaiming authority over their narrative. Yet even as May spoke passionately about their connection to the land, a flicker of concern brewed in Lisa's mind. What if this unexpected testimony derailed her carefully strategized approach? Would May's raw recounting undermine the polished arguments Lisa had formed? Fear scraped at her resolve, but as she felt May's unwavering presence, it metamorphosed into motivation. With every syllable, they weren't just recounting history, they were challenging the courtroom's perceptions, toppling the facade that had pinned their identity beneath layers of neglect. and Lisa glanced around, registering the faces of attorneys, jurors, and observers, some skeptical, others nodding affirmably. The evident ripple of recognition was palpable. They felt the weight of shared experiences woven through the testimonies. "Let me share a truth," May continued, a fierce determination replacing any falter. Lisa recognized this truth wasn't just for the courtroom, it was for them, a clarion call to reclaim their collective narrative. Lisa's instincts kicked in, her thoughts aligning with May's unwavering spirit. Perhaps this interjection was fortuitous. It could serve as an impulsive wind steering her ship towards previously uncharted waters. The opposing attorney's shifting expressions told an undeniable story of uncertainty and dread. The vacancy of confidence was transforming into a palpable threat. As much as they had counted on their strategic manipulations and calculated arguments, this unfiltered truth was seismic and approached with an authenticity that could unseat even the most steadfast skepticism. Soon, May's fervor melded into Lisa's own blossoming conviction. Inspired by her grandmother's raw emotional appeal, she felt motivated to amplify the surge toward justice. It was now or never. She could either stand back and remain shielded by the walls of her own fear, or she could step forward as a true advocate for her past. "Your Honor," Lisa projected forth with renewed vigor, interjecting as May finished. "We cannot allow history to be silenced. Today, we not only bring forward a case, we hold a mirror to the injustices of the past and demand accountability." The courtroom hung on her every word, the tension electric, pulsating with the potential of unveiling truths too long buried. Then, the opposing attorney leaned forward with an air of exasperation, eyes blazing with retaliation. "But what standard does emotion hold in this court? Will your heartfelt testimonies bring about tangible results?" The question stung, echoing the very doubts Lisa had wrung in her head. Before she could respond, Lisa noticed May's comforting hand on her arm. Strength flowed through that simple gesture, imbuing her with courage. The battle was rapidly warming. Suddenly, Lisa realized that this moment was not just about winning a case, it was the beginning of something larger. But what could be unleashed if they propelled forward? And perhaps more crucially, how would she reconcile her past with this evolving self? As the room buzzed with murmurs, Lisa's gaze drew towards the door, where implications of looming consequences loomed, ready to encroach upon her nascent transformation. The stakes were rising, so too was her resolve. Without wavering from this pivotal opening, a new figure, a sworn enemy from her past, stepped into view, someone whose history with her family's legacy was tangled in both admiration and betrayal. Could meeting this person incite further conflict? Or would it give Lisa the strength she needed to fundamentally redefine her path? The stakes had never been higher. Lisa's heart pounded as she recognized the figure entering the courtroom. It was Derek, the man she had fought alongside in her youth and had once trusted implicitly. Now he was an opponent in this battle for her family's legacy, his sharp features betraying no hint of the inner turmoil she herself felt. Derek strode towards the front with an air of calculated confidence, each step measured as if he knew the power he wielded in this conflict. Lisa felt a wave of anger surge through her. Everything he had fought for in the past now felt twisted, manipulated into a tool against what she sought to protect. "Your Honor," he began, "I would like to contend the emotional pleadings being presented. This court thrives on factual evidence, not heartfelt speeches that tug at our sentiments." His words sliced through the air, deliberate and chilling. Lisa's stomach knotted. Was this the voice of reason or the echo of cruelty? Every part of her wanted to retort, to expose the flaws in his argument, but she knew she couldn't afford to react impulsively, not when so much was on the line. She glanced at May, who remained unwavering, her eyes fixed on the unfolding drama with a quiet dignity that Lisa aspired to embody. But even with May's encouragement, Lisa felt a deep uncertainty brew within. Unbidden, memories of their shared history flooded her mind. Derek had always had a way of finding the cracks in her confidence. When they had worked together, he had challenged her to think critically, to stand up for her beliefs. But that was before the rifts had torn them apart. Now he appeared ready to exploit those very vulnerabilities. The stakes felt suffocatingly high. How could she stand strong when old wounds threatened to open? "Perhaps," Derek continued, If we focus on the legalities instead of anecdotal histories, we can conduct a fair adjudication." His tone was dispassionate, yet Lisa could feel the emotional weight behind it, ripping at the fabric of the bond they once shared. Here he was, back in the arena they had once fought for together, only now he positioned himself as her adversary. Each statement felt like a dagger that prodded at the remnants of trust lingering just beneath her surface. In that moment, the heat of the courtroom faded to an indistinct backdrop. Lisa knew that if she allowed his words to take root, it wouldn't just undermine her case. It would cripple her resolve to confront both her past and this new future unfurling before her. Taking a deep breath, Lisa reset her posture. She envisioned each piece of history, the resilience of her ancestors, the hope of May, the support of their community, and steeled herself. "Your Honor," she interjected, her voice strong and clear, "my grandmother's testimony is not just sentiment, it is rooted in a legacy that encompasses our rights, our identity, and our unwavering spirit. The emotional aspects merit consideration because they provide context to the land we're discussing." Liberation surged within her as she spoke. She was not just defending a case, but fortifying her essence. The thrill of reclaiming her narrative electrified her. She could sense a shift in the room. The murmurs softened, eyes sharpened, and the energy crackled with newfound urgency. Even Derek shifted slightly, a subtle acknowledgement that her words were landing where they mattered. Refocused, Lisa realized that their shared history with Derek could serve as a powerful undercurrent in this fight. She wouldn't let him manipulate her past for his gain. Rather, she could summon the vulnerabilities he unwittingly awakened and reframe them as sources of strength. But despite her resolute stance, uncertainty loomed large as the courtroom's tension climbed. The question lingered. Would this ultimately bring them closer together, or would it carve deeper the rift that had already formed? Lisa locked eyes with Derek. "We can't ignore what our past means for the future," she said, voice steady, yet edged with vulnerability. "The land isn't just ground beneath our feet. Every rock, every blade of grass has a story intertwined with ours." As Derek's eyes flickered, she could see a mixture of disdain and misinterpretation reflected there. Yet she knew the truth was unfurling. He had made the choice to antagonize her legacy, but she too had a choice. As the whispers of the courtroom echoed, she planted her feet firmly and prepared for what was next. Now another piece of her history had returned, and she could sense its potential both to empower and to ensnare her. With a sense of renewal coursing through her, Lisa resolved to unveil not only the past, but the possibilities that lay ahead, if she could only outmaneuver the specters haunting her journey. But even as she pushed forward, Derek's expression shifted, morphing from one of arrogance into something darker, more calculating. The danger loomed near, and as her heart thudded, she realized she was on the precipice of uncovering truths that could shatter everything she thought she knew. Would her desire to confront the past lead to redemption or devastating upheaval? As the tension escalated, the courtroom door swung open again, but this time, it wasn't just an ally stepping in. It was someone from her past, someone who could unravel everything she fought for. Would she be ready to embrace the chaos of yet another revelation? The courtroom stilled as the door creaked open, revealing the silhouette of a woman with flowing hair and a presence that seemed to fill the space instantly. Lisa recognized her immediately, a figure who had loomed large in her childhood, a mentor whose wisdom had shaped her understanding of identity and culture. It was Raina, her grandmother's lifelong friend, and a revered elder of their tribe. "Your Honor," Raina's voice rang out, steady and commanding, cutting through the tension like a sharp knife. "I have come to declare the significance of our history and the fabric of our future." Lisa felt a flicker of hope light within her. Raina's arrival could shift the momentum, but it also stirred something deeper, an echo of fear that clawed at the edge of her consciousness. Raina's wisdom was vastly powerful, yet Lisa was no longer the uncertain girl who sought validation in her words. The stakes had peaked, and she had to navigate her own voice amid Raina's inherent authority. As Raina began to share stories of their ancestors, Lisa felt the tide of the courtroom shift again. This was the context Derek had dismissed as irrelevant, and yet here it was, electrifying and undeniable, weaving the narrative of their tribe into the very air they breathed. Lisa narrowed her focus, strategizing how to integrate Reina's testimony while maintaining her own footing. "Reina, can you elaborate on the bond our people have with the land?" Lisa interjected, her tone respectful yet assertive as she tried to draw attention back toward her own argument. The connection between heritage and belonging was no abstract debate. It was a visceral truth that should resonate with all present. Reina nodded, her eyes sparkling with the depths of time. "The land is not merely property for us, it is our history, the bones of our ancestors, the tears of our mothers. Each season that passes, each ceremony that we perform, we reassert our belonging, not just to the land, but to each other." As Reina spoke, Lisa's internal dialogue intensified. Could she use this moment not just to reinforce her argument, but to create an alliance of understanding between herself and Derek? Could their shared history, once a source of division, now become a bridge? Yet the weight of uncertainty loomed heavily. Would he accept their cultural narrative, or would he brand it as another ploy to incite sympathy? Derek straightened in his seat, his eyes narrowing as Reina's influence became palpable. "Your Honor," he interjected, "while poetic, this misses the point. What binds us together should be based on legality, not emotions born from tales of the past." Lisa's pulse quickened. This was not merely a rhetorical battle. It had become a test of human will, a confrontation of convictions. She sensed the urge to combat Derek's dismissal head-on, to call out his callousness. Yet she also recognized the potential that lay in measured responses. "Derek!" she called out, the appeal in her voice tempered with a newfound clarity. "Our identities as Indigenous people cannot be suffocated by legal jargon. It is vital we embrace both our factual history and our human experience, as they are intertwined. If we disregard one, what hope does our future hold?" The tension in the room shifted with her words, palpable and almost electric. She could see Derek's veins pulse, the churning conflict within displayed on his features. It was a moment of reckoning, not just for her, but for him too. Did he truly believe the cold detachment of the law could outweigh the rich tapestry of their lived experiences? As Reina concluded her statements, Lisa could feel her heartbeat synchronize with the deepened silence of the room, every breath a testament to the collective anticipation hanging in the air. The stakes had escalated. This was no longer just about land. It was a battle for their very existence, their story, and their future. Would they understand that, or would Derek's legal armor protect him from their deepest truths? Lisa locked eyes with him, uncertain yet determined. The moment had arrived to truly face each other, not just as adversaries, but as individuals tangled in their shared past. And so, as Reina stepped down, stating with clarity that the spirits of their ancestors were intertwined with the land they fought for, Lisa pondered her next move. Beneath the pressure, she found a flicker of insight. If she could engage Derek in a dialogue about their shared history, perhaps they could unearth common ground. With hope flickering among the chaos, she stood on the precipice of real change. Would Derek respond as the ally she once knew, or remain an unyielding adversary? As the courtroom held its breath, Lisa prepared to venture into the depths of their shared past, hoping to reforge the bond that had once united them. Could this confrontation reveal deeper truths that neither had anticipated? Standing at the center of the courtroom, Lisa felt her heart racing as the weight of Reina's testimony settled around her like a heavy cloak. She had sought clarity for so long, but now the direction in which she would choose to push this conversation felt uncertain. The air buzzed with anticipation, urging her to take the plunge. The supportive gaze of her mentor sparked a flicker of courage within her, but doubt tugged at her mind. Could she invoke the fragile threads of their intertwined past without invoking Derek's dismissal? Her experience told her that emotions were seen as weaknesses in this arena, but perhaps it was time to challenge that notion. With renewed determination, she took a deep breath and stepped forward, eager to steer this conversation toward a more personal level. "Derek," she began, striving for a balance between respect and conviction. "You and I grew up with stories that defined who we are. You heard the whispers of the land just as I did. Is there not a part of you that understands the depth of those tales?" His expression remained inscrutable, but Lisa saw the flicker of recognition in his eyes. "We both know the law," he replied, each word measured. "That doesn't mean we should romanticize our histories at the expense of what's factual. There's a difference between romanticizing and acknowledging, she shot back, earning the attention of the courtroom. What you call facts are only half of the reality. Our identities, the essence we carry forward, are not built solely on legal documents. They are forged in lived experiences, memories shared, and the land that nurtured us. Would you deny all that just to stand on principle? Lisa's pulse raced, sensing the gravity of her words in that moment. She could feel her past, the laughter shared with family over fires, the stories woven through generations, crowding the space between them. The threat to disconnect from that heritage felt like a personal assault. Derek's jaw tightened, but she pressed on. You have the power to redefine what this case means, not just as a lawyer, but as a member of our community. What if we can turn this into a chance for understanding and healing instead of division? For an instant, doubt flickered across his guarded demeanor. Lisa's heart surged. It was a crack in his armor, one she had to exploit carefully. She was not just fighting for her tribe's land. She was advocating for a bond that had been frayed over time. Inside her, self-doubt warred with growing resolve. Would Derek see the logic in her plea, or would he retreat to his fortress of reason? Here, lost in the haze of law and heritage, she felt the importance of building bridges. Her internal struggle also became a critical test of her skills as an advocate. Lisa recalled Raina's stories, a legacy of resilience thriving against adversity. Raina had instilled in her the belief that true strength lay in the ability to connect deeply, to embrace complexity and vulnerability. If she was to emerge victorious, she needed to embody that wisdom, not just speak of it. Let's not make this just a matter of land ownership, she urged, stepping closer, her voice softening. Let's make this about restoring a connection. The land is our history, but it's also a shared destiny. Imagine a future where you stand with us, rather than against us. As the words left her lips, she sensed a change in the atmosphere. The courtroom felt less adversarial and more like a threshold to a new possibility. The silence grew heavy again, a testament to her daring step into uncharted territory. Derek's brow furrowed as he grappled with her proposition. Uncertainty hung palpably in the air. Would he cling to his rigid stance or embrace Lisa's vision? As she studied him, she could almost feel the currents of their shared history tugging at him, urging a reconsideration of his position. But just as hope blossomed in her chest, something flickered across his expression, an imperceptible shift that hinted at anxiety. What lay beyond that door? Would he find the courage to traverse it with her, or retreat back into the rigid constructs of legality? A mix of determination and concern coursed through her veins. Whatever decision Derek would make next could redefine everything. The stakes had soared once again, rippling through her entire being like wildfire. The moment had come. Would their shared past illuminate a path forward, or would they remain prisoners of their differences? The lingering question sent a chill through her. Lisa stood ready, aware that the confrontation's true depth was yet to unfold, a lingering promise of revelations to come. She could feel the crossroads before her. What choices would emerge in this uncertain terrain? The courtroom remained locked in a tense silence, the weight of anticipation so thick that it could be sliced. Lisa's breath steadied as she watched Derek's reaction, desperate for any sign that he would lean into their shared past rather than retreat to his rigid adherence to the law. The tension did not just surround them, but blurred the boundaries of reason and emotion. As the seconds stretched, she felt time elongate around her. Derek's brow furrowed deeper, the shadows of doubt dancing across his face. Was he weighing her argument, or merely digging his heels deeper in the mud of familiar confrontation? Yet something in his posture shifted, his shoulders loosening incrementally. Maybe, just maybe, nostalgia was creeping in, offering a glimpse of the boy she once knew. Lisa. He spoke her name softly, almost reluctantly. It was a flicker of vulnerability that caught her off guard. You think this is about me. It's not. It's about what the law demands. A painful twist of hope and frustration churned within her. But what if the law's wrong? What if the demand ignores the truth of our lives? This isn't just a transaction, Derek. It's our heritage at stake. The emotion in her voice hung in the air like smoke. She could feel her cheeks flush as memories of their youth surged back. long summer days spent exploring the riverbank and trading hopes and dreams beneath the vast starry skies. Could he remember those moments too? The moments before ambition and the law hardened their hearts? Lisa stepped closer, her resolve coiling deeper around her. You were driven by a sense of justice once, not just for the sake of the law, but for people. We were taught that the stories carried weight. Something flashed in Derek's eyes, a flicker of uncertainty that made Lisa's heart quicken. Did he want to push against the confines of what he'd built for himself? Could he still be that boy at the riverbank? As she held her breath, the confrontation shifted. Derek exhaled sharply, his rational facade cracking like glass. Do you have any idea what it's like to work in a system that demands compliance? Do you think the law allows space for empathy? That question knotted inside Lisa, igniting indignation. Was this truly an inescapable truth for him? Or was it a protective barrier he had constructed to shield himself from her pleas? She wondered if he was afraid to cross the divide, fearing the cost of true connection. Fear is limiting you, Derek, she urged, her voice mingling with the desperation of the moment. The law can evolve, just like we did. Our identities can't be imprisoned by the limitations of your profession. His hand clenched slowly, struggling against the pressure swirling around them. The battle of ideals collided fiercely. As Lisa searched his gaze, she saw confusion and conflict, stirred, but not yet settled. They stood at a precipice, and both were hanging in the balance. What does this mean for us? He whispered, almost to himself. That wasn't directed at the case anymore. His question was a haunting exploration into their shared past, challenging all they had grown to believe about themselves and about each other. For an instant, she dared to imagine a reconciled future where they didn't have to choose between their past and present. But a suffocating doubt gripped her heart. What if he couldn't overcome his fear? What if he dismissed her entirely? Together, we can create a narrative that includes more than just the facts, Lisa replied, feeling her voice trembling at the prospect of rejection. But that means you must confront what truth means to you and what you're willing to risk for it. Derek flinched, caught between the weight of expectation and the freedom that her words promised. She could almost see moments rushing back to him, the warmth of camaraderie mixed with the sting of unfulfilled aspirations. It hung there, unvoiced, as Lisa's pulse raced beneath the surface. But just as she felt the path to understanding about to unfold, the courtroom doors swung open. A figure entered, instantly changing the dynamic. The interruption jarred her back to the reality of the situation. As he turned towards the new arrival, Lisa felt the precariousness of their conversation slip through her fingers, like grains of sand in an hourglass. She held her breath, yearning for Derek to reclaim the moment, to see through the layers she unpeeled. But who was this shadow that entered? And what new element of tension would it bring to the already fraught exchange? The momentum they had built now trembled in uncertainty, destined to evolve or fracture further. Would Derek embrace the emotional weight of their shared past, or let it crumble in the wake of an unforeseen confrontation? The climax was near. What awaited them on this troubling new horizon? Lisa's heart raced as the figure stepping into the courtroom cast a long shadow over her moment with Derek. The atmosphere shifted palpably, the air thickening with an impending storm of uncertainty. She turned her attention to the newcomer, instinctively piecing together the implications of their arrival. The man, tall and lithe, wore a serious expression, and to Lisa's dismay, he carried an undeniable authority. His presence drew everyone's focus, pulling the courtroom's tension taut. "Your Honor," he said, his voice steady, cutting through the uncertainty like a knife. "I was informed of this hearing and felt it my duty to be present." Derek blinked, his momentary distraction quickly morphing into a guarded expression as he scrutinized the intruder. Lisa squinted, attempting to gauge the newcomer's intent. Was he an ally, or had he come to reinforce the rigid system she and Derek grappled against? "Mr. Thompson," the judge acknowledged, a hint of annoyance clear in her tone. "This is a closed proceeding. Unless you have a valid reason to be here, I must ask you to leave." But Mr. Thompson didn't budge. "Your Honor, I represent a community deeply affected by the decisions made here. Our heritage, our very existence, depends on the verdict you reach today." Lisa's breath hitched. Could this stranger hold the key to shifting Derek's perspective? Was this a manifestation of the empathy she tried to reach in him? A knot of hope tightened in her chest. Derek's expression softened slightly, allowing a flicker of curiosity toward Thompson. Lisa seized the opportunity, certain the stranger's words could be the bridge they needed. "Derek, listen to him," she urged. "The stories he carries are the truths we've overlooked." Thompson met her gaze with unexpected warmth, his eyes reflecting a shared understanding of the weight they bore. "Every case," he began, his voice echoing in the charged silence, "is not merely a case, it's a living testament to the lives woven into it. I am here to remind you and your colleague of the humanity entwined with the laws of the land." A moment of realization flickered in Lisa. This man wasn't just a legal presence, but a representation of the lives tethered to their decisions. She could see Derek grappling with the enormity of that claim, his shoulders tensing again as he struggled to reconcile. "Humanity?" Derek echoed, a sharpness creeping back into his voice. "Are you suggesting we disregard the law in favor of sentiment?" "No, Mr. Harris," Thompson countered, a hint of fervor igniting in his tone. "I'm asking you to recognize that the law can coexist with our shared humanity. This case is alive, and it's begging for justice beyond mere compliance. If society is to thrive, it must be grounded in values that encompass love, memory, and heritage." Lisa watched the interplay unfold, her heart pounding, as she noted the flickering spark in Derek's eyes. Could he be swayed tonight? Could he, too, awaken from the stagnation that the law had wrought upon him? In that moment, the possibility of rekindling their connection surged to the forefront of her thoughts. She silently observed Derek's internal struggle, sensing the hesitation swirling around his integrity. Was he open to reevaluating his beliefs? With the room on edge, Lisa felt a sense of urgency to push through his defenses. "Derek, we were always more than just students of the law. Remember the warmth of truth we sought in those riverbank conversations? This man stands for that power, the truth that fights for existence, not just survival." There it was. Her plea hung visible, focusing on Derek's fraying resolve. The trajectory of their burgeoning understanding began to shift, the foundation rattled by the tremor of empathy. But as Derek opened his mouth to respond, the courtroom door swung open once more. This time, a woman entered, her presence nearly tangible, radiating both desperation and strength. What new angles of conflict would she introduce? How decisively would the complexities of their gathering deepen? The heart of the matter lay ahead. She could feel it thrumming beneath the surface, waiting to break free. Lisa steadied herself, preparing to confront whatever revelations awaited. Would Derek embrace the entwined destinies of the participants in this legal drama, or would they all spiral into further chaos? Those questions hung heavy as the atmosphere thickened with possibility once more. As the woman stepped into the courtroom, Lisa recognized her immediately. Tina, a fierce advocate who had tirelessly fought for indigenous rights long before Lisa even considered entering the arena of law. Tina radiated resilience, her reputation for demanding justice for underrepresented communities preceding her presence. The tension in the air seemed to reshape itself at her arrival, creating waves of anticipation that rippled through the courtroom. "Your Honor, may I address the court?" Tina's voice was strong yet measured, laden with purpose. The judge nodded, clearly recognizing the weight of her presence. "We are at a crossroads," Tina began, her eyes scanning the room, meeting each gaze with conviction. "This case is not just a legal matter. It stands at the intersection of heritage, identity, and sustainability, a reminder of what it means to fight for something larger than ourselves." It was a call to unity as much as a plea for justice. Each word resonated with Lisa, amplifying the arguments she had woven throughout the hearing. Tina's commitment to their shared history ignited a new fire within her, reaffirming that she wasn't alone in this fight. If Derek could see the passion and authenticity emanating from Tina, perhaps he'd be inspired to shed his defenses. "Derek," Tina continued, shifting her focus towards him, "you know better than anyone the cost of ignoring our roots. This isn't about legal precedent or corporate gains. It's about honoring our ancestors and creating a future that acknowledges the intertwined destinies of our past and present. We all have a stake in this." For a moment, the courtroom fell silent, the gravity of her words settling upon everyone present. Lisa felt Derek's tension shift. Hesitation crossed his face as he wrestled with the implications of Tina's plea. This moment felt fragile yet brimming with potential. "Your Honor," Lisa interjected, empowered by Tina's presence, "we cannot overlook the tangible and emotional connections that bind us to this land. It is our responsibility to uphold these truths. We must choose to listen and be guided by the voices fighting for our heritage amid the relentless tide of development." Derek's gaze shifted between them, uncertainty flickering across his features. It was as if a door had cracked open, allowing a sliver of vulnerability to seep through. Could this moment resonate within him? Could he embrace the idea that the law and humanity were not at odds but could instead be integrated to forge a powerful alliance? "Lisa," he began slowly, perhaps searching for the right words, "I've always maintained that the law was the most objective means to resolve disputes, but—" He paused, the weight of years of training and resistance crashing against something more organic lurking just beneath the surface. "But maybe we've been conditioned to believe that emotion is the enemy. I dare say, maybe it's time to challenge that notion." The courtroom erupted in a quiet murmur, a stirring of collective hope. Lisa held her breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Was Derek beginning to reconsider? Was he willing to lean into the complexity of their shared histories? Tina stepped forward, eyes gleaming with renewed determination. "It's not too late to navigate a different course. We can present a path forward, one that honors all aspects of this fight. Together, we can advocate for an outcome that embraces our shared humanity in tandem with our legal frameworks. Together, we can foster a legacy that resonates beyond this case." As she spoke, Lisa felt an overwhelming sense of solidarity wash over her. This was the support she had envisioned, a chorus of voices challenging the status quo, and it was everything she had hoped for. It anchored her in the present struggle while urging her to look toward the possibilities of tomorrow. The silence in the courtroom felt tangible, each eye fixed on Derek as everyone waited on his response. The weight of expectation loomed heavy, and yet, in that moment, Lisa felt a profound sense of purpose. "Okay," Derek finally said, his voice steadying now. "If what you say holds true, if we can extend this conversation beyond legal precedent, then we need to reassess what must be done not just to win this case, but to honor the voices that so often go unheard." The courtroom buzzed with energy, a shift taking place. Lisa felt as if the fog that had followed her for so long was finally beginning to drift away. With each passing moment, she unlocked potential within herself she had never imagined possible. Gathering her strength, she met Derek's gaze head-on. "We must be braver than the confines of tradition. Our legacy demands it. We hold the power to reshape the future, not just for ourselves, but for every generation to come." The acknowledgement hung in the air, the room pulse-quickening with anticipation as she and Derek began to find common ground. They stood at a pivotal crossroads, able to redefine their former partnership not just as adversaries, but as allies in a shared mission. As their conversation flowed, confidence surged and solidified within Lisa. She had come full circle. Not only had she risen to claim her narrative, but she had ignited a change within Derek and potentially within the fabric of the courtroom itself. With renewed purpose, Lisa stepped forward alongside Tina, Derek, and their advocacy forged in unity. Together, their voices now intertwined in reverberations of resilience, demanding recognition of everything the land represented. The threat of developers now transformed into a shared call for justice. As she prepared to speak once more, the layers of doubt melted away, replaced with an unwavering clarity. She was Lisa James, an advocate grounded in purpose, ready to confront the new challenges ahead. And as the courtroom absorbed their collective resolution, it became abundantly clear that this was not merely a fight for land. It was a testament to the indomitable spirit of those who had come before, an emblem of the brightness that could shine when true voices united. Now, the moment had come, not just to achieve victory, but to prove that legacy transcended law. The transformation was complete. It felt electric as she prepared to stand beneath the weight of history she now fully embraced. It was time, and she would not stand alone. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to show your support. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.